Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rachele Teson and I'm a Nationally Certified School Psychologist here in Missouri. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things School Psych Simplified. This week's Tech Tip Tuesday is all about using Google Docs to create templates that you can use as a school psychologist to help save you time and help automate your paperwork. So let's begin. I store all of my templates that I use within my Google Drive. So if you were starting out with your templates, I would suggest storing them in a place that makes sense to you. What makes sense to me would be something similar to this pretend Google Drive that I've created for you. So I would click on the school year, click on special education, and then assessment templates. And if you're thinking, I'm not sure how to organize my Google Drive, or you want a step-by-step explanation of kind of how to set this up, I do have a video that talks about Google Drive organization for school psychologists, and I will leave that linked in the description below. So let's say I wanted to make an assessment template for a very common cognitive assessment. I would want to make sure that I'm in my assessment template folder, and I don't have any documents in here yet because we're going to build this together. So we can create our Google Doc by either right-clicking and selecting Google Docs, or coming up to the top, creating a new tab and typing into the web browser docs.new. Either way, you'll have a new Google Doc pop up. And I'm going to show you some of my favorite template creation hacks that really save me time. So as a school psychologist, I'm sure you're spending a lot of time writing and rewriting the same or very similar sentences or paragraphs. And so something that I do is I have templates where I've written everything to that level that I'd like, making sure that it's thorough. But as you know, a lot of the information is super similar. The way we describe a particular assessment is the same no matter which student we administered it to. So for me, I like to have one Google Doc of every single assessment that I use routinely. And then I drop that assessment template into my larger report shell, which I'm happy to show you how to do in a future Tech Tip Tuesday. So for this assessment template, I'll just show you what I would do if I was creating one from scratch with some of my favorite Google Docs hacks. So let's say for this first assessment template, I wanted to do one for a particular cognitive assessment that I give pretty routinely. I would just put the name of that assessment up at the top. And for the sake of this video, I'll just put name of test. And then underneath, you might put evaluated and reported by, and then put your name and title there. Let's say you might do date of evaluation and put that date there. Let's say that you have kind of the test purpose and description of the assessment next. And then for me, I like to put a table of the standard scores and percentile rank, and then the qualitative descriptor. So the table that would show which scores are average, above and below for that particular assessment. And then after that, you might go into what the testing environment was like, and then maybe testing behavior or observations during testing. And then you'll get to test results and talk about standardization procedures. And then you might go into your table that has the scores from that student's performance, and then some test interpretation, maybe a name of a particular skill or sub area, and then more detailed interpretation underneath that. So if that's kind of the bare bones or the skeleton of the assessment, what I would do is kind of go back and choose what my formatting would look like. I really like formatting. And so I want to make sure that it's consistent and cohesive throughout the evaluation report. So I'm going to select all of the text by hitting Control A on my keyboard and changing it from Arial to Poppins. And let's say for the name of the test, I want that to be bold on my keyboard. I'm selecting Control B, or you could come up here and click on bold. Maybe this section I also want underlined, so I can do Control U to underline that, or you can come up here and click on underline. And then let's say for evaluated and reported by, and then the date of the evaluation, maybe I want those bold as well. And then for the test purpose and the description, maybe I want that to be bold. And then down here, details of the purpose and description. And just for the sake of this video, I just will explain that in this section, I would actually provide the details and purpose. I wouldn't be rewriting details and purpose, but just to give you an idea of how I would build this out. And then maybe for your table, we would insert a table and maybe have it be, that looks good. And then maybe this is a particular assessment where 90 to 109 is considered average. So we could do that and maybe have it show the scaled scores as well. So something from 9 to 10. And then your percentile rank is anywhere from the 25th to the 74th. And then we might also have that interpretation, which is average. And then it looks like I made one too many columns. So I'm going to delete that column. And then, of course, you could fill in the other ranges and things like that. And then for the next part of the assessment template is that testing environment. So I might make that bold as well since it's a subheading. And then I might type in, student was given this test, completed into one-to-one setting, free from distractions. And this is where I might include details about any variations from standardization, or if standardization was broken for a particular reason. I would put that here. And then let's say for testing behavior, I would want that to be bold as well. And for this, we might say they transitioned well from their classroom to the testing space. We might notate if they were well groomed, or if they were friendly, talkative, things like that. So that will be noted there. And then let's say for test results, I wanted that to be bold as well. And I might say something here, just a brief, the table below outlines the student score and interpretation of his or her performance. And then the table that would show that performance, which I would make in a similar way. So coming up here to insert table, and then depending on the particular assessment, you might have many lines, just depends there. And then let's say, for overall score would go here. Maybe I'm typing in the score, and then I'm typing average over here, just to kind of show an idea. And then after the table, I would want to make that bold. And then let's say for test interpretation, I'm putting, kind of the performance as compared to peers. So I might say something like students' cognitive skills measured on on target for a student their age, things like that. I would put all of that here. And then if I wanted more detail information, for me, a heading under that subheading, I like to do bold and then also in italics. And then if there's even more details, if you wanted to get down to a particular subtest and wanted to give detailed interpretation, you could also, what I like to do is have it be italicized and underlined. So I just do the Control I, Control U, or again, you could come up here and click on italics and underlined there. So now that we have a little bit more than just that skeleton and we have it a little bit more filled out, what you would do is then make it very specific to this particular subtest or to this particular assessment. So you might type out for a particular IQ test, you might say, this very specific test, name that out and have it be more detailed. And once you have the template looking how you want, everywhere that you could be talking about a particular student, like I showed up here, you could put it in all caps. So if you have the student in a couple different places, that way it helps you to know where you can find and replace for that student's name. So let's say I was ready to do that in my assessment. I would highlight that portion. I would hit Control H because that's going to bring up that find and replace. And from there, you would just type in what you would want to replace that name, the word student, with what name. And then, of course, you are individualizing the test interpretation and all of that to the individual student, making sure that it tells their story and is an artifact of that current snapshot of their abilities. But in general, a lot of this that's above is going to be pretty similar. So where you don't have to type out the name of the test, the description, the tables, that should all be automagicked for you. It should all be templatized. That way you can save time and drop in the particular assessment into your report shell or your larger draft and go from there. Another tool or trick that I like to use within Google Docs when I'm creating templates, instead of just using student in all caps, I like to have an even more of a visual. I like to use a lot of carets. So you could do this on your keyboard, just kind of a beginning caret and then an ending caret. And that way for me, when I'm grabbing that particular section and then I go to Control H, I know I've grabbed the exact portion here rather than accidentally grabbing student with the apostrophe S and then messing up the form of the word. So that's just a trick that I use. And then if there is something that stays the same, I keep it just like this. So if the testing environment is pretty much the same, that part, of course, can stay looking like this. So maybe we would do, if we were typing this out instead of just a description of this section, but what it could actually look like. So let's say use my caret, student was given the, and let's say name of test. Testing was completed in a 1-to-1 setting, free from distractions. And that sentence is pretty much always going to be in my report. There's not a lot of tweaking because my testing space is always the same. But then let's say the standardization piece might look a little bit different, or I might need to tweak something like for a particular situation. So what I would do then is come up to the highlighter color and I would pick something that speaks to you, maybe like this color here. And then I would almost write a note to myself. So I would put here, include any variations from standardization. And then, or like assessment conditions. And that way, when I'm going through this template, I visually know like, hey, let's look here and see if I need to tweak anything for this particular student. Same thing with testing behavior. That's going to be very unique to every single student, but you might start off in a similar way. You might say, student transitioned well to the testing room and was friendly with the school psychologist. And let's say that's true for most of the time. But again, you want something to prompt your eye to say, let's read this and make sure that I actually individualized it to the student. So what I might do is grab this part and again, make it that same color. That way I know when I'm going through my templates, what part is truly a template and what part is, this is something that I need to make unique to that individual student. So that's kind of just the bare bones of how I would draft a template for myself. Of course, I would beef this up and include the very specific name of the assessment. Maybe I would drop in my name and my credentials because that will always be the same. Maybe I'm detailing out the description. Maybe I'm including all of these areas. That way, each time I can go to File, make a copy, or I can grab everything by selecting Control A and then Control C, and then I go into the new tab that might have the overall draft for that particular student or the report shell and drop it in there. That way I'm only typing out this really nice, beautiful template one time and then pasting it for every student that I use this particular assessment with. So I know today was a little bit longer of a video, but I just wanted to show kind of how I would conceptualize creating a template from scratch and what tips and tricks I have for you. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment or a like so that I know that you're watching and that you found it helpful. And if you are using Google Docs to create templates, what tips and tricks do you have for us? Please leave that in the comments so that we can continue to learn from each other. And if you're also thinking, this is great, but I don't have time to make a template, I hear you. I am actually going to be releasing some templates in my TPT store here pretty soon. So please make sure that you're subscribed over there so that you don't miss any updates on future templates. See you next week.